Nebraska for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and appreciate y'all coming in today and sharing your expertise and your testimony. Some of the questions I have, you've touched on a little bit, but I just want to make sure I understand it. But before I do, I was raised on a farm, corn and soybeans, beef cattle, until I was 21. Then I joined the Air Force for 30 years. And that transformation over that 30 years is just incredible. When I was 20 years old driving on a tractor disking, my main concern was finding an AM radio station and trying to find a good baseball game or something to keep me amused. Today we have GPS on almost every piece of equipment. Our combines are pumping out maintenance data all over, yield data. Our irrigation systems know what part of the fields need more concentration than others. I was just at a ranch with 75,000 head of cattle. Every trough was computerized, every water tank. And based on the age of the cattle, different blends of feed. And it was all and mainly computerized. Every head of cattle they had to analyze so to maximize the output for each head of cattle. I just find it incredible where we've gone. So I clearly see a need for broadband and big data. And I've seen different estimates what's going to cost to fully put this out in our rural community. Does any of you have a good estimate of what it will cost in the end to really do a rural broadband system for our country? Big question. What's the cost? So you haven't seen a good estimate.
I do want to say this. I wouldn't tackle that one, but back in the day when I was sitting on a telecommunications board, when internet was new, we took a poll of the board. We said, who's going to want this? And I can remember some of the older guys on the board. And I was one of the guys who said, well, I want it. We thought out of the 1,800 line subscribers that maybe 100 would want it. Look what happened today. They all want it. And they don't want what? They don't want that little pipe carrying 2,400 baud. They want a big pipe. So what it's going to cost today, it's hard to say because technology is going to keep wanting more. It's going to have to feed the beast. But if we want to be effective, efficient, and productive, we've got to do that. So I don't know the cost, but I know it's necessary.
I just think it's probably good to start big picture. What is the cost to get broadband out there? And then we could strategize how to get there. Now, you touched on this a little bit. What can we do in the Farm Bill to make some progress there? And you touched on it a little bit, but I just want to make sure we have clarity. And is there a way to partner with states and local governments and private industry? Because obviously people are going to make money on this as well, so it should be totally a federal cost. But any thoughts on that? And I just open up to the floor because I'm earnestly seeking questions here or answers.
Perhaps grants to State Department of Agriculture so that, I know like in Indiana, we always hear about rural broadband and the need for that. And, perhaps with some incentive money in the future farm bill, that would be enough to push those states to invest. Yes. So, and I don't know the cost either of what this would be to make America's farms connected, but I have to think when you look back in history, every major investment we've made in rural infrastructure has paid dividends for generations. Rural water, rural electric, roads. So I think this is the next big one.
If we get the broadband put out, I don't foresee that changing as much. The applications writing within it will change, clearly. So if you get the infrastructure in, I think getting to your point, Mr. Tiller, that the applications within it will change. But we need to get the infrastructure in place. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it. And I don't know if it's strictly a private endeavor or if there's a partnership there. I think there should be probably some kind of partnership.
The USF fund, that has been a private-public partnership all this time. I remember back from the day when I was on a phone board from '86 to really up to 2004. It's needed. I mean, that is that private-public partnership that goes on to make those things work. Bringing lending in different ways through RUS, through the different funding mechanisms. I think that's the way you do it. I don't think the government would just go out and say, how do we take that? I think it would be these private partnerships.
I'll just close. When I get feedback going around, I'm from the Omaha district, so I have a county and a half, more urban and suburban. We have some farms on the west and north side and southwest and so forth, but we have huge agri-industry, a lot of processing, commodities, and transportation. But I get out a lot in Nebraska to learn on this. And number one issue is affordable crop insurance. Hear it all over. 2, foot and mouth disease concerns, what would happen having an insurance plan there. Infrastructure, which is tied to broadband, is probably the 4th issue I hear. So I think that's a common thing I hear. So anyway, thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.